Hi everyone, welcome to today's Peace Talks. I'm in so much peace and joy right now that it just feels like a really reverent time here on Pappy Farms. I'll call it the farm, my parents' property. It is, I'm doing some things here that are inspiring words and metaphors to the energies right now. This is a pretty massive, when I say this, I mean today is a pretty massive checkpoint energetically. There is a massive amount of retransplanting, resetting that are happening in the next 2 weeks from today. This is Friday, the 21st of April. So there's a pretty massive reset that's taken place right now for the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to explain that. But first, I wanted to give you just a quick view of what's happening here. Just listen. It's just so peaceful, so beautiful. The sun is out. The sky is blue for now, but there's a lot of spraying going on. It has been for the last day or two. So I imagine we'll have some pretty gloomy skies, some rain, some precipitation, some kind of weird manufactured weather of some sort coming through here, because that's typically what happens right after. A lot of spraying goes on. I counted 8 planes yesterday spraying across the sky. By the end of the day, it was like fully cloudy, gray, really windy, got really cold. So it's interesting just to watch. It's interesting to watch what's happening, and at the same time not getting lost in what that means, what it is, what's being sprayed. That is the very thing. It is so in our face right now because we are being asked to very much discern where we set our thoughts and our feelings and our attention, and especially in these next 2 weeks. So we are going to see the dark side pull out all of the stops to make us see that the world is something to fear. They're going to make us see a lot of spraying. They're going to make us see a lot of chaos in politics. They're going to make us see a lot of chaos in, in violence. And so there are going to be opportunities for us to get lost in unfavorable news, unfavorable darkness in the world. And if we spend our time on that in the next 2 weeks, we are amplifying that which is going to unfold in our next 6 months. Okay, so the energies of these next 2 weeks create the reality of the next 6 months, which means these next 2 weeks we are going to start to see some accelerated manifestation, materialization. Both words wanted to come out at the same time. Accelerated manifestation. So let's talk a little bit about that here in a minute. First, I want to share what is happening right now that helped me bring this energy of bigness. I've been sharing on my YouTube channel called Storehouse Stories, and within Storehouse Social, I've been kind of I've been talking about this big presence that's been like accompanying the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of us have been feeling this big presence, something big, just not being able to understand it. And in these next 2 weeks, I do believe it's going to be coming into more and more reality, more and more manifestation, more and more matter, material. You will start to see it in these next 2 weeks. And what you see, what you choose to spend your time on and your awareness on, is the direction you're going to go. So if you see a lot of spraying going on and arguing in politics and scary things going on and violence going on, are you going to take your mind and your mental and emotional energy and go down those timelines of, oh my God, what happens if I keep seeing spraying? What happens if this war goes out? What happens if inflation does go up? What happens if the financial system does collapse? What happens? All of that is happening. So just know it's happening and be in peace and come over to the other side. You know, I don't want to say sides, but come over to the other perspective and just sit with it for a minute and take a look. Take a good look. Because there are those of us who aren't, yes, we see it going on, but it's not getting our mental and emotional, the electromagnetic field of who we are that attracts things into matter, that brings energy into matter. In these next 2 weeks, this is prime materialization time. And it sets up the energy for the next 6 months for us. Therefore, we have got to be really discerning in this time. So I want to show you what's happening for those who are putting their attention, the spiritual leaders like yourself, who are here to just simply live a life of peace, to be fully sustained, to live the spiritual, soulful, aligned aspect of your life, your destiny. Whatever that means to you, you're willing to do the work for it, which usually means being weird, being completely out of the norm, completely shunned probably by most of your friends or family, or just people think you're weird. The creatives of the world, we're the ones that are tuning out of that old dark world and watching it just let itself just self-implode, while the rest of us are taking steps to a more sustainable, to a more spiritually led, to a more soulful way of living. So what that means for me, I want to bring this in because this is going to bring you a visual of what's happening. So I'm going to turn the camera around here and show you what's going on here on Pappy Farms, and then I'll get to the message that it's checkpoint and acceleration in manifestation is happening for these next 2 weeks. Like, hold on to your your panties, everybody, because I think we're about to go on a ride. Hold on one second. Let me just turn this around. So these are the seedlings that we have, Bud and I planted few weeks ago. I was posting about it. So these are all, most of them, we have peppers, squash, tomatoes, diamond eggplants, some squash. These are tomatoes here. So we just put these seeds in. This is the first time we've ever done this. I've had a garden before, but it was always just from some, like I get the starters at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. This is the first time that Bud and I've done anything like this from seedlings. So this is kind of an exciting day. So they're going from their seedling trays, and I am up potting them into these. These are looking really pissed off at the moment because I've up potted them, right? I've taken them out of their comfortable environment. We sowed the seeds in here. They're all looking, pretty perky, but they're getting too big. So when we have the top on, the lid on, it kind of crushes them. So we want to up pot them at the moment. And so I've only done these couple, and they don't like to be transplanted. But what I've done, I've taken a lot of care. I mean, I know you know how to do this, but I want to talk about the energy of how I up pot, because I know what it's like to go from a very comfortable environment where you've grown into, expanding into a new pot, a new environment. It's extremely scary. It, kind of brings you down. You start to question yourself, and it's a big shock to the system to go from, a comfortable small environment to a larger environment. And in a few weeks, these guys will be hardy and healthy, because when I transplanted them from here to here, I gave them a lot of I spend my time on these. I'm a very slow gardener, because it's not a system for me. It's like, it's an act of love, like putting the new soil. We put some good, we're using some organic soil that we just got on an all natural fertilizer. So, and look, it's got 444 on it too, which for those of you who don't know, that's the number of angels around. So I put some angel dust, is what I'm calling that, into the soil. So I put a little bit of the soil into here. And then I take them out of here, and I try to put as much of their dirt, I try to let them go with as much of their home, soil as they can. And I just enter it, I just put it all around here, and I just let them know, the plant, I talk to the plant, yeah, I really do. And I'm like, listen, I know this is gonna be a little bit shocking. It's not really that fun. You're gonna be mad for a minute. You're gonna be a little bit angry, but don't give up, because that's, because that's just not fun. Like, take the fun route and like suffer through the symptoms of expansion. Feel them, because every time you feel sad, depleted, something is wanting to be up potted within you, expanded. You want to go to a higher expression. So that's what these guys are doing. They wanted to go to a higher expression, but they couldn't, because with the lid on inside the camper, their growth was being muted. So we have to up pot into bigger pots in order of an environment, into bigger spaces, and have our roots start to grow there. But what's going to happen once these roots start to get strong in here? They don't stay in there, because that will stunt their growth. They then go into the ground. They go into the ultimate fertile soil. And that's what we're getting these guys prepared for. But we've got to prepare them first for the transition into freedom. So we've got to train them. Like, here's what freedom feels like. At first, it's pretty scary, because you're going into a whole place where you're not rooted. This is unknown. They don't know about this soil yet, but they have been planted here with love. And with every pat on this soil and every drop of water that falls in, the roots are going to get stronger and stronger. And at the end of it, what's going to happen is you can't really see it yet, but I've given you the tour of it already. These plants will eventually make their way up this driveway. Right up here is the garden. And in that space, these beautiful plants, who are right now pissed off because they have to grow, they have to get out of their comfort zone, and they have to expand. We're expecting them to expand a little bit before they go into the actual expression of their entire unique purpose in that garden. So that's what's happening right now. Up potting is happening. Yes, it's happening here in my reality. That's how it's showing up, but it's also happening within you, and that is the message. This is a checkpoint. Where are you now, and where would you like to be in the next 6 months? Because these next 2 weeks is when the up potting begins, when the up potting takes place, actually. Okay, these next 2 weeks is when massive up potting takes place in you energetically, so it's going to be a little intense. Let's talk about that. So, checkpoint. That's the topic, the meaning, the purpose, the message for today, because that checkpoint that we are going to check in with here in a minute is stemming from the up potting process that is taking hold right now within you. So it's been a little bit since I filmed that up potting part that you just watched. It's been a couple hours, so there's been some life lived in between there, and I needed to take a break, and I wanted to finish up this message as well and get this whole message about checkpoint to you, because it's really important, being that today is the beginning of a 2-week, pretty big 2-week cycle of energy that we have to pay attention to. So before I break that down, I want to show you where I am. This is like an uphill climb, like the metaphors, right? But an uphill climb, this spot is an uphill climb to get to. It's here on Pappy Farms, and I needed I wanted to get away, get into nature. Bud and I just found this spot not too long ago, and it's just so beautiful to sit up here, and it's also shaded as well. So It's cooler. I think it'll be cooler in the summer. And it's just kind of tucked in here while it's a little bit chillier still, and the wind blows or the breeze blows. But this little spot that I'm sitting in is kind of protected, so the wind doesn't get you as much. But today's a really, we woke up with a really beautiful sky, and it's just that cloud cover crap that happens a couple, hours after they spray pretty good. So the sun is deliberately being blocked out a little bit. So with that, it's a perfect time. It's actually very pleasant to be sitting here, and I wanted to come up and do this, do the rest of this video and give you this message. But it has been a couple of hours and some life has been lived, as I said. So I'm tired. I just I want to sit here and rest. So I want to get this message to you so I can do just that. So the message, checkpoint: accelerated up potting in progress. So there was no coincidence that today of all days, I started to get this message, and I also was like, I'm going to let this message come through, and I'm going to start to up pot some of these little seedlings into the bigger vessels and into the upgraded vessels. And as I was doing it, it was all becoming very clear, helping me put more of this message that I've been talking about on Peace Talks and in Storehouse Stories. I've been talking a lot about this big presence, and I'm getting more words for it, and I'm getting more understanding on it. So I wanted to bring that to you. So if you want to kind of catch up a little bit, I would suggest going back to maybe 1 or 2 Peace Talks episodes, and then I started a new playlist on YouTube called Storehouse Stories, because it's just kind of like, as I build out the storehouse, the things that are happening are really starting to show me what's happening. And so the things that are happening are showing me what's happening, of course. But what I mean by that, what is happening right now are things that I've talked about on Peace Talks and Daily Tune-ins for the last year, 2 years, intentions of this spiritual journey that Bud and I have been on. And now I'm seeing, and I'm understanding and connecting dots, and I'm seeing that my world is actually, the storehouse world is now actually becoming reality. And it is, it's something that's very interesting as it unfolds. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is really happening. And what I also know about the intentions that I've held for the last 2 years pretty clearly, with Storehouse Social, I didn't know that was the name at that one point, but that there are investors that are interested in investing in the storehouse, and there are caretakers that are willing to help create, partake, and caretake in the storehouse. So they are coming together as we speak, and I don't realize it until all of a sudden it's like after the manifestation is done. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's exactly what I wanted to happen, but I didn't know it happened like that. So accelerated manifestation, the up-potting process for you, here's the message, it is unfolding, and it's going to start unfolding like wildfire in the next 2 weeks. And it's going to look differently. And what I say is the intentions that you have held. If you are here on this conversation, you hold intentions. You know that your intention, your intelligence creates your reality. So you get what we're talking about here. And what is happening is we've been talking about the energetics of our space weather, of our environment for the last 2 years at least on this YouTube channel. A lot longer, but with a focus on creating our reality. And for the last 2 years have been very upfront about the need, the requirement to detox, to clean the environment before we start building anything, right? Like, you can't just go into a hoarder's house and start building your dream house, right? You got to take all that shit out. Same with ourselves. We are the storehouse, and when we want to rebuild and cleanse and detoxify and get ourselves healthier, into a healthier foundation that starts first spiritually, getting ourselves spiritually aligned with the intentions that are our own desires. That falls down into our mental strata, emotional and physical. And in the physical is where the intention becomes reality. But we've got to cleanse and clear the whole channel from the spiritual self down to the mental, emotional, and physical, grounding down into the physical. So we have cycles where we work with the energies. This is when we cleanse. This is when we clear. This cycle today, these next two weeks, starts the cycle of seeing the intentions that we have been creating and working within in the last 6 months. So take a look at your last 6 months. What has it looked like? Where have you spent most of your time in your mental and emotional strata? Did you spend time in your mental and emotional strata in a way that supported your spiritual strata, your desires, your soul desires, your destiny? So mentally and emotionally, because that is the electromagnetic field required to create the manifestation of a soul-aligned expression in physical form. So if you, for the last 6 months, have really been working on cleansing, clearing, transitioning, making space for, intentionalizing, being healthy, keeping your vessel clear, keeping your heart open, keeping your mind open, changing yourself, transitioning your ideas, creating new ideas. If that has been your 6 months, then you have been in creation mode, just like Priya is, to create her own little shady, cool heaven on earth. If you have been in that mode, in the next 2 weeks, you are going to start to see the tangible results of that. For another world, there are those who've spent the last 6 months toiling, worrying, afraid, fearful, angry, resentful, malicious, devious. There's another whole world that is also occurring at the same time, and yet these same energetic cycles appear for them. And in that world, they are going to see the next 6 months worth of, they are going to reap for the next 6 months what the last 6 months has been toiling about in mind. So these next 2 weeks is going to be when they reap what they sow, and anything that was intentionalized in the last 6 months will come true. But a lot of times it comes back at us, right? What we project out is the complete and utter projection of who we are. That vibration leaves your body, and it goes out, it multiplies, it builds, it expands, and it always returns in a like frequency, right? In like. And you are a magnet for all that you project out. So in these last 6 months, you are no doubt, if you are here in this conversation, you have been in creation mode. You have been intentionalizing. You have been cleansing and clearing and making space for a big upgrade in your life. And upon these next 2 weeks, you are going to start seeing that come into your reality in ways that you have not expected. So that's why I always say pay attention, because it's happening, but it just appears in a way that we haven't thought of, we haven't expected, in a way that we weren't intentionalizing. So it's easy to miss. But then all of a sudden, if you stay with it long enough, you're like, hold on a second, I see where this is going. This is working on my behalf, in my favor. So there's a lot of things that are showing up on our behalf, and I see that in my own world, from the ability to practice learning new knowledge and wisdom on building my physical storehouse that is a reflection, a home and a space and a creative space that's a divine reflection of me. But until I can actually do that, I get to practice some of this stuff at my parents' farm, and that's an amazing receptivity of abundance. I also have another opportunity to work with the county. I'll be doing that on Monday, and the county here is the poorest county in California. And yet it sits in the most abundant place in Northern California, which is cannabis country. And now that it's legal here, the county needs to figure out what to do and how to do this. Who better to do that than like somebody who knows and believes so wholeheartedly in the benefits that cannabis can bring for people emotionally and mentally and physically. And it's natural, and it's something that I'm passionate about re-educating and myself relearning all of how we've been deceived from that. So there is an abundant way of me doing work that I actually am passionate about. I've been intentionalizing that in those last couple of 6 months or so. I've been talking about much of these intentions. So if you've been here for a minute or two, you're going to start to see a lot of the things that I've talked about on a personal space, on the daily tune-ins, and on my YouTube channel in general. You're going to see it start appearing here. I'm going to bring you in. I'm already bringing you into the storehouse. It's already coming into existence, and it's already given me land that helps me emulate and project. What will the storehouse look like? What do I want on it? What do I want in my garden? I have this huge canvas of things to choose from, because my storehouse is the natural reflection of who I am. And it starts from within, and it's restoring me as I go and as I learn and raise my wisdom, so that I am ready when the time comes to step into a physical creation of the storehouse, my physical expression of home, work, studio, and creation. Then I am ready and I'm willing to step into it. And knowing that these next 2 weeks catapults us towards that, you can bet my focus, everything that I am aware of, is the present moment, and how does this relate to the storehouse? And in this moment, and then remember, the storehouse is really me. It's you. It's your soul. It's the thing that sustains you most. And that's the spiritual essence of you. And then it expresses mentally, and then it expresses emotionally, and then it expresses physically. And we're about to express it pretty wholeheartedly in the physical. So this message is not about me. I'm talking about the practical, how it shows up in life and in my story. I'm sharing my story, but this is really about you, right? So your storehouse is going to be accelerated. Your last 6 months, the energy in which you put into this world in the last 6 months is going to be accelerated this next 2 weeks and coming into your life. And then it's going to continue to keep manifesting and manifesting and materializing and manifesting and coming into matter for the next 6 months. So get yourself ready, because it's going to be a time that you must receive. You must receive, okay? And you, no matter what world you live in, if you stumbled in this and you're on a darker world, you must receive this, because this is part of your ascension. This is part of your higher education. This is part of you evolving. So therefore, this is part of your awakening. And these next 2 weeks especially, and the next 6 months, is when lessons are gonna be learned. And we all have got them coming. Some will be painful lessons. Some will be those lessons we've never had before, because your heart expands and you're like, that's how it gets done. That I get it now. And you get it because it felt so good, and you're like, oh my gosh, it was that easy. So it's going to be an intensely fun roller coaster ride for the next 2 weeks. So if that begins to start to be a little bit crazy for you, here's what I want to invite you to. The storehouse, like I said, when me, Vedette, refers to the storehouse, like I said, it's the physical expression of home and sanctuary and studio space. It is my way of bringing peace to myself and to those I invite. I have a virtual storehouse, which is my way of inviting people into a space to have a deeper conversation, to connect heart to heart, and to find peace. the Storehouse Social is that place for me. It's how I express, something I don't have yet, as far as a physical space, but I've built out this space and I continue. It's just beginning. But I invite you in because in my Storehouse, I have a meditation room. And I will be slowly putting in, unless a caretaker wants to come in and help me take care of the Storehouse. I'm a one-man band here, and I've got a lot of plans, and I'm trying to build it out by myself. But, I'm finding that things take longer than I want them to take in order to do so. But I have put up one meditation in the meditation room in my Storehouse to offer you. That is part of the sanctuary part of the Storehouse. So come in and find an inner peace. The meditation that's in there is activating your 12 power centers. So those are really important because we're all activated now, and it'll help you understand those a little bit better so that you understand any changes physically, mentally, and emotionally you've maybe felt in the last year. You'll understand that those 12 power centers came online in 2022, and we are now in this year of 2023. We are learning how to operate with all of those 12 power centers on and operating. We've never had them all on at the same time. And now we are in these higher frequencies, so we are able to use them to our advantage, but we have to learn how to do that first. And in order to learn how to do that, we have to be living life and setting intentions and working towards those intentions using the new faculties that are coming online, the new faculties of intuition. It's gotten a lot deeper, a lot clearer, the new faculties of imagination, the new faculties of alchemy, bringing it all together to create it. So this is a massive, massive 2-week practice period, because every practice we put in creating our reality to the highest and best of all involved, creating our heaven on earth to sustain and support all of humanity, in those intentional moments, every single particle and being in your body is amplified in these last 2 weeks and charged, electrically supported, electrically charged. So it's really important these next 2 weeks to be dedicated to the practice of you. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I hope you're getting this message. That also then we go into in the Storehouse starting tomorrow. I'm going to have some in the study. Eventually you will be invited into the study of my Storehouse, and it'll be this beautiful, cozy room that you just walk into, and you have to quietly whisper. It's a room that we're the mystics, the philosophers in us, like the leaders in us kind of emerge, and we ask the deeper questions, and we talk about the deeper questions, and we feel safe about being like, well, what if it's this? And maybe something we could never bring up with our family, but because of this community, because of the connection that we have with understanding spiritual life or learning spiritual living in a very, physical world, we know that we have to have this conversation, and we have to understand how to be the mystics and how to be the high priestesses and the magicians of the ancient world, and bring those superpowers back. So the 12 powers meditation, please step into my meditation room in Storehouse Social. Turn that on, activate that knowledge within you, and then come into the study. Because on Saturdays, we're going to be just starting tomorrow, the Project 369. So this is, it's a whole thing. You can read about it on, if you step into my house in the Storehouse, you can read about it. But basically 369 opens a portal. Nikola Tesla has done, a ton of research, and this is a process that, he says if you only understood the magic of 369, you'd understand the universe, something to that effect. But basically how I see it is 369 is a code to unlock a portal of manifestation from intention to actual materialization. And we are going to go through the book. We're going to use a textbook. We're also going to use our own experiments based on what it is we want to increase our attention and awareness on, which is our intentions. And we are going to start this tomorrow because we have 2 weeks to be fully supported and kind of amplified and pushed forward pretty quickly in the manifestation process into physical form. So I'm going to take advantage of this, and we're going to step into the study of Storehouse Social tomorrow and open up a conversation, an ongoing conversation about the mechanics, the actual how-to, the mechanics of bringing energy into matter. So that's what's happening in the study. So I hope you come here to Storehouse Social and do that. You can, there's ways to join us. So follow the link on this video, whatever that is. And checkpoint. Okay, so here's the last bullet point you need to know. Checkpoint. Where are you right now? Just stop it and take a deep breath, okay? Just take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Okay. I want you to bring your attention to the most challenging thing you have going on right now in your world. What is the thing that has been following you around for 6 months now? Maybe it's someone, maybe it's a job, maybe who knows. This is general. So whatever the last 6 months you've been like, man, if I want to change this, if I only could change this, I am changing this. Whatever, however you've approached it, that challenge is offering up an opportunity for you to become aware of it and to say, okay, it's time to up-pot this part of my life. What I mean by that, Priya, really distracting. What I mean by that is that this area of your life is becoming too small for you. This person, this job, this position, this organization, this situation, it's too small. It's not resonating because it's just antagonizing you with your attention. It's following you, and it's looking to be up-potted. That part of your life is looking to be up-potted into a space that it can have a more expressed and expanded expression of life. So all the attention for today, for you, all we're asking for you is to take an inventory right now. What's the biggest thing you would love to up-pot, expand? Great. These next 2 weeks, you spend in your imagination, you spend time imagining and feeling what that expansion looks like. Bringing it back to my own personal story, just so I can give you an example. How do we do this practically? Building out the storehouse, a place that I could feel rooted, like a sanctuary to my soul, a place that I could gather with friends and supporters, people who have supported me, and bring them together on this physical land that's where I grow my gardens, that I learn how to be sustainable. I don't even know how to grow a garden. Where I learn, this is like the place where I choose to say, all right, land, I'm going to learn how to be sustained by you, because I've never learned that before. The sanctuary, the storehouse is the sanctuary for my soul, where I connect in, where, I study, where I go inward. It's the temple, it's the outward reflection of me. I talk about it constantly on here because I am changing my programs to already see it as being done. So for the next 2 weeks, I am going to continue to share and build out the virtual aspect. I'm taking the next steps, the virtual aspects of building out the storehouse the way that I would want to build out the physical aspect, and invite people in and go move into the study and have a book club where I get together and gather with people like me who want to unpack the code, the quantum code of 369, because I don't get it, but I want people to come into my storehouse and sit with me in the study so we can figure this out, because when we figure it out, we can show others how to do it. And then I want to move into the garden and bring y'all in and be like, hey, you guys, come into my garden, see what I'm learning today, you know? So that's how I will continue to nurture this energy of the storehouse for the next 2 weeks. Because what I do for these next 2 weeks sets up the unfoldment of it all to come into my reality for the next 6 months. That's a pretty cool experiment to see what happens. So that's where my consciousness will be looking to that aspect, to the spiritual aspect, and doing that with my friends so that we can create this world of peace. If I create it within me and within the storehouse, virtual, storehouse physical, then I invite other people to come in and we can all commune in a peaceful place while the rest of the world is figuring out their next 6 months and hoping to God they just survive, you know, whatever this world throws at them. So it's really important. The energy right now on this Friday, the 21st, is quite important, quite essential to the next 6 months. So just be very, very mindful of where you are mentally, physically. Are you aligned with your soul? Are you aligned with peace? If you're not, what can you do to shift it so that you can be in immediate peace in that moment? Do you got to do the hard part and like leave? Or do you just have to shift your mind and tune out something and tune into something else to find the peace within that's always available when there's chaos around? So every moment of discernment is required in these next 2 weeks to be in peace, no matter what you got going on, okay? So much love. Thanks for coming into my quiet little spot. Look, you got Pepe here. That's his spot. And then Priya's right here behind me. So I think this would be one of our favorite spots for the summer to come and sit when it's blazing hot. So anyway, there we are. Thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate you. Come into my storehouse. You're invited. Mwah. Take care.